Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. So happy. I feel like it's been a year since we last met, only because I've been out of town. So welcome back, everyone. So do we have an approval of the minutes from the previous meeting? Approval as submitted.
Or do we have any corrections or amendments proposed from the committee at large?
Good point, Kermit. I don't see any. So I think we can assume we can call the minutes approved as submitted. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comments. Robert Owen, you are up.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. My name is Robert Owen. I live at 1311 Middleton Street. I have comments on the staff report charging equipment item and the draft SPP reports by department. As to the charging equipment at Terrace Avenue, which is the equipment that's actually needed right now for the Mach-E, is a 120 volt plug, not a level 2 charger. So I'm a little concerned as to how long it's taken to get in a posture to put out a request for bids on a level 2 charger, while we do actually have an electric vehicle that apparently is not being charged and is staying at this very hot parking lot in the summertime and very cold parking lot in winter weather. All it needs is a 120 volt plug. We should get that in this year, regardless of how long the contractor wants to take to install level 2 charging. We don't need that yet. As to the staff meetings, I have several comments. First, the tourism folks should get an EV, not a hybrid. You don't need a hybrid to get to northern Wisconsin. I know that because I'm in northern Wisconsin and I got here by EV. I've gotten here about 12 times a year by EV, and every time I get up here with more than 20% state of charge when I get here. So there is charging in northern Wisconsin, contrary to the assumption of the tourism department. Next, with regard to Parks and Recreation Administration, they both want to do some sort of baseline evaluation this year, and that sounds like an excuse for not doing anything this year, and I don't think that's appropriate. As to the senior center, they should be buying air source heat pumps, mini splits, not furnaces. When furnaces die, they should be replaced by an air source heat pump. The police department should be looking at a Chevy Blazer EV PPV for a new patrol vehicle. This is a more capable EV than some of the ones that were available in past years, and it addresses some of the police concerns expressed about those smaller, less comfortable vehicles. With regard to EMS, they should be planning to buy electric ambulances. There are several now available on the market. Finally, with regard to EMS, they should plan to explore replacing their heating system with a heat pump system of some kind. Possibly ground source, possibly groundwater source, but a heat pump, not sinking money into a boiler system. Certainly, we're continuing to burn a lot of gasoline, diesel, and natural gas, and we need to reduce that. And city staff needs to get serious about doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. We'll go to Kevin Spittler next, please.
Hi, good evening. I want to, well, first of all, I'm Kevin Spittler. I live at 6848 Frank Lloyd Wright. And I want to thank Kelly, presuming she put this all together, for collecting all this great staff notes and also the minutes from the individual departmental meetings for the SPP IP. It seems to me that most of the departments have been coordinated with now. And we're right on the cusp of another budget season. And I'd like to believe that to some degree, the SPP implementation plan can be used for this budget cycle. In the very least, for larger ticket items, I realize there's going to be some discomfort and reticence to use it because it's a change to the way we've been doing business. But the only way to get past that is to start using it. And I want to remind members of the committee that 2 years ago, Joe Parisi, who just recently retired as executive of Dane County, came to the Middleton Common Council meeting. And when asked, he said that when members of the staff in the county would bring equipment requests to him, he'd ask them if it was the greenest choice possible. His presumption was they were bringing him choices that involved reducing the county's carbon footprint and helping them get to net zero. And if there wasn't equipment of that kind, then he asked them to have a justification. And this is the converse of the way it's been going on in Middleton over the years. We've been doing things the way we always have. Now it's time to shift the thinking, use the SPP, and do the life cycle cost estimates using the Falco tool or some other method. And I would just point out that Sun Prairie school system started a mass conversion of their facilities as they expanded greatly since 2005. And by building two entirely new high schools since 2005, because they've used energy saving measures, in particular heat pumps and also, geez, I'm drawing a blank on well, the ground source heat pumps.
Geothermal.
They've saved over $15 million in energy costs, and they're using about the same amount of energy now that they were in 2005. They've saved tons of money. Anyway, thanks for the time, and I appreciate all the additional information in tonight's package.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we'll move on to, and I hope I'm saying this right, Guy Griffin.
Very
Please
close.
correct
Yep,
me.
you got it, Griffin.
Griffin,
So,
okay.
Good evening. Again, I'm Guy Griffin. I'm with Madison Gas and Electric, and I just wanted to introduce myself this evening because I'll be on these calls from time to time as City of Middleton is my customer with Madison Gas and Electric, and I meet with and talk with Kelly on a general basis about things, and I just wanted to say hi to the committee and look forward to being on a number of these calls. Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome is right. So let's move on to welcoming, please, our new Sustainability Committee member. Brad, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome, big welcome to you too as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Brad Keller. I'm just finished sophomore year in high school. I'm going to be a junior in the fall at Middleton High School. And I'm on the green team there. I'm going to be the vice president next year. Yeah, I guess just always been passionate about sustainability. Always grew up outside, doing things outside and appreciating nature. And so now, you see the things going around with emissions and pollution and et cetera, and it goes on, but just excited to do as much as I can to help the committee and to help out the community. So
Wonderful, thank you. You came very recommended to us by several people, Brad, and so we're very much looking forward to more engagement, with you, and then also with the other Green Team members and the high school in general. So thank you so much for, submitting your application for this committee, and we're very glad to have you here.
thank you again.
Yes, okay, thank you. So next we need to do an order of business that needs to get taken care of. So I think we need to vote. We're in a new term now, so we need to vote for chair and vice chair. So do we have a nomination for chair going forward? Dick,
I nominate you, Christie. You have done a remarkable job and I've seen you grow with the position, and I think you're dedicated to preparing for meetings and all the various activities that we're doing. I like the fact that a chair will stay on and provide some continuity. So I am nominating you for chair.
And John Schaefer is seconding that.
thank you, Dick. Thank you, John. So let's take a vote. All in favor of continuing with me, Christie, as chair?
Aye.
I
Any
I hate to be a,
nays?
hate to be
Oh.
a stickler for point of order, but I think a
Yep.
final call of are there any other nominees would be
Oh.
appropriate? Just, it's a formality. I don't
Thank
know
you,
that
Kermit.
there's
Nope.
anybody else, but I just
I
think
like
that
to
would be
do things
appropriate.
as we're supposed to, so I appreciate that. Any other nominations? Not hearing any, let's do it again. All in favor of me continuing Christie as chair?
Aye.
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Don't see any? Okay, thank you very much. I very much appreciate your confidence in me. It means a lot, and I look forward to continuing on in this role with our wonderful group here. We're getting better and better, which I love. So thank you. Do we have a nomination for a vice chair? Dick?
Well, I don't want to, I'm the only one that's putting their hand up, so okay. I nominate Laura. I think Laura has shown a really dedication to getting into the nuts and bolts of things here. She's been quite engaged in a number of our actions, and I've gotten to know her from parade events and other things, so I will nominate Laura.
And John Schaefer will second.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Do we have any additional nominations for vice chair? Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of Laura as vice chair?
Aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Not seeing any. Congratulations, Laura. We're very excited to have you as vice chair.
Yeah, we want to all have a meeting down in Key West, Florida in about.
That's right. You're hosting.
There you go.
That's part of the deal. Did we not?
In
mention that?
August, right?
Yes.
Come on down, yes. That's good.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Much appreciated. Okay, let's move to the staff report. Who has and what questions do we have for Kelly with her very thorough and always excellent staff report? Laura.
Could you scroll to 6? Let's see here. Number 0.6, so I can see it. Yeah, oh, the CCC campus project. So I see that that's moving forward and stuff. And then at the end, she talked about revising and updating goals. And it seems like, you know, the sustainable purchasing policy and implementation plan is top of mind this particular meeting. So I just had questions about, is that something that you were wanting to do, was to add more language in there to make sure that if however these buildings get built, that the purchasing follows obviously the SPP and the bids and things, all that language will be in there? Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Yeah, I wrote it in 2019, and in some ways it's very general. It says things like zero energy and zero waste and, you know, recycle all water, and that's all great. But and the council approved it, let's know that. But I think it'd be helpful if it was a bit more specific and also got into the details just a little bit more on building products like embodied carbon, not just in concrete, but in other things. That actually came up during the process during the pandemic, or right before the pandemic, before the project was halted. Members of the community were bringing those things up. So I just think it needs another look, and I don't think it'd be bad to get another draft in front of council anyway. And I think it also, more than even the city being behind these things, which I feel like they are, I really want the consultants to understand what the values and goals are for this project, so that they don't offer up less than what the city actually supports. Because we're a more forward thinking, I think, community and on some of this stuff. So I just want to make that clear also for the consultants. It provides cover for them too, and for staff.
Okay. Also, another thing that was kind of coming up, I'm not sure who's on that committee, but just when we get a little bit more later on talking about the implementation plan for the SPP, one thing that's going to come up is our procurement system versus decentralized versus centralized. And one of the things that came up regarding that had to do with, well, if we did go to centralized, where are you going to store this stuff? Which somebody said, what about the new CCC? Do you know if storage or anything is even on people's radar for that? What would we have to, I'm just seeing a lot of moving parts here related to sustainability that need to kind of come together.
Yeah, I don't think the project's at that point yet, but they are taking a step back from what had been previously discussed for space needs and looking at space needs again. Things have changed drastically since the pandemic. People work differently. We have to reevaluate how we work in a space. So it'll change substantially, I think, from the first conception of what the community campus would look like. And so talking through the space needs and having storage space will be a part of that. It's not at that point yet, but hopefully soon it will be. And again, this isn't yet the architectural design of the buildings. It's more about massing and general space needs and where the buildings could be sited, and getting several concepts in front of council and the community to look at how you could combine the senior center, library, and city hall, potentially look at a community center somewhere in the city. It's all still very much in its infancy, even though we have done a lot of studies in the past for the previous project. So it's not starting from ground zero, but yeah, we're just getting into it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yeah, just on behalf of the council, I think you could be pretty secure that virtually all of the council is behind everything we're talking about here. And then when you're with the council, I've seen that too. But I did want to say, well, I think it's good to be thinking ahead and being proactive. Not only are we not designed a building yet and massed it even yet, the fact is there's no money and nobody's yet figured out how to even pay for this thing. So any sense that somehow tomorrow there's going to be an architect and it will be too late to get on the ground floor with talking to them, I think it's very premature. So I think it's good. I think Kelly's sort of general statements from before are still the general sort of statements we want to maybe reinforce again in front of the council. But in terms of spending a lot of time and energy trying to think about materials and other things that might go into the building, I think we're still years off from something going on like that.
Great input. Thank you. Dean.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up with a little bit of a tangent from where John was, but it is important to raise the ideas that, if they wanted to go to a more unified geothermal based approach, that may change where you want the footprint to be like, etc. So having someone just raise those points as a reminder along the way seems very useful. Even though I agree that we're a long way away from design, but
No,
sometimes
I think the
having
reminder
those
is a good
thoughts.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Dean. Okay, Dick? You're on mute, Dick.
Thank you. I got a couple of questions, and I'd like to actually bring Guy into. I'm glad that MG&E, Guy, that you are going to be attending our meetings, and so we could, I guess it's appropriate to take an item off of this staff report and get some feedback from MG&E, because like the street light LED conversion is very much connected to MG&E. So I'm curious, Guy, if you would read this number 7 paragraph here, that if you have a feeling of where MG&E is in helping to facilitate the total conversion of our streetlights to LEDs. This is something we've been talking about as a committee now for 2-3 years at least. And it's been a challenge to get this done. So I'd be curious, maybe Kelly, you could go over it quickly just so we get it fresh in our mind what's going on, and then have Guy comment if that's appropriate.
Sure. We have a grant right now that's underway to replace approximately 500 of our city-owned streetlights. And those are mostly city-owned and MGE maintained. Some of them are city maintained, but few of them. And that project has taken a long time because of the grant cycle and how the money was allocated, and how that changed from because of the Joint Finance Committee in the state legislature. And then, so we're working on that. And then I just submitted a new grant request to that same program for 2025 to complete the city-owned streetlight conversion to LEDs. And that's approximately 300 light bulb lights. And those are more expensive, but fewer. And they're in the neighborhoods like Middleton Hills and North Lake. And we don't know yet if we have that grant. We'll find out in September. And then there's a number of lights that are owned by MG&E and also maintained by MG&E. And my understanding is that MGE is replacing those lights as they burn out with LEDs. But I'm not sure where MGE is at on that project or the projections for how long that'll take.
Yeah, and just to inject one other question here that get Guy to comment on. Even though we replace the light fixtures, there's energy savings. Does that come back to benefit the community, city, not only by giving us credits for becoming, more renewable or reducing our energy consumption, but actually producing a savings in our budget? So I'd like to get you comment on that, Kelly, and then get Guy to respond to this.
Well, I'll let Guy talk about it as well, but anytime we can replace lights that we have to pay the electricity for, if they are changed from the more inefficient high pressure sodium to the LED, it will save the city money. Hopefully, is that right, Guy?
Yeah, that's a pretty safe assumption. As far as like the city budget and how that plays, I'll leave that all in your court. But yeah, it's definitely helps with the cost of the electricity utilized to power those streetlights.
Yeah, and how about the streetlights that you meaning MG&E owns and maintains? We're paying still the electricity for those, right?
That is my understanding. I have not looked at your specific agreement for that, but that is typically how it's done.
So a couple of comments, if people don't mind, I jump in here quick. I've talked to Dick about this extensively, and we've had the privilege of Dick being on the committee for a long time, which brings a lot of historical knowledge, which is certainly helpful for me. And one of the questions I have is, and you don't need to answer this tonight, but I guess to continue the conversation is, I thought there was a situation where, I can't remember what the ownership structure was for that, whether it was city lights or MG&E, it must have been city-owned lights or something. If some lights were replaced with LEDs, because of the contract language, we were still required to pay a higher rate, even if we were using less electricity. So I don't know if that's true, but I do remember that being a sticking point.
Yeah, I would have to, I don't know the history, I'll be honest about that. There is a specific rate for streetlights. And it's not based on the individual streetlight, it's based on all the streetlights that are underneath that account and that ownership. So I don't have any details about Middleton's off the top of my head, but I can certainly look into that and bring it back to the group.
That'd be great. Thank you. John?
Yeah, I just want to be clear though, we're still paying for electrical usage, not for the number of light bulbs that are out there. So my presumption is if you switch a light bulb to be less energy efficient, you will absolutely save money regardless of the electric rate. You're not charging us a fixed rate for every street light that's sitting there, correct?
Correct. You still
Yeah.
pay by the kWh consumption.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, let me jump in, please. We were under the assumption, though, that when we were talking about converting these over to LEDs, if it was city money being used, we want to justify that we're saving money by this and that it will come back in a number of years to pay for the conversion, right? It isn't Kelly, isn't that our working hypothesis here or working theory?
Yeah, I mean, it's estimated that if we convert all of our city-owned streetlights, then we would save approximately $22,000 a year in operating costs. And if MGE switches the lights that they own to LED, we would save even more money. I think what I've heard in the past is that MGE is restrained with labor and the ability to change out lights en masse very quickly. So they're doing it, as lights burn out. And so that's a constantly changing number. And we do get reports from MGE when they've switched out lights and that they've changed them to LEDs. And we made sure in our grant to work with MGE to make sure that we match the type of LED fixture so that the street lights are standardized throughout the city and MGE isn't replacing with one kind of light and we're replacing with a different type of light. So we have that, we're doing that. And then I think, there could be an ongoing conversation with MGE about how we can help them do it faster or, maybe working with other communities. How can we get the MGE owned streetlights converted faster? That's been sort of an ongoing conversation.
How about grants to actually help MG&E if it's an issue of money to do this and getting contractors to do it for them? If they own it, but if we could get grants, once we get our own city lights done that we own, get more grants to help MG&E get this process done, because again, it's saving us money as soon as we convert it. I mean, $22,000 is not chicken feed just for these city lights.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We'll look into grants for that, although I'd have to look at, who the match would come from so that the city's not paying for assets that's owned by a utility. We'd have to make sure the financials work for everyone.
So Dick, do you still have do you have your hand up still?
Well,
Go for it, if you do.
This is another topic, so if anybody else hasn't had a
Oh.
chance to speak, I want to bring up another issue. but-
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll close with a comment about the streetlights. Well, first of all, thanks for bringing that up, Dick. Guy Jesse, I can't remember his name's Helms, maybe, previously was really generous with his time and, you know, his evening to come on one of our previous meetings, which was very helpful. You know, I left that meeting, and subsequent follow-up communication with him. I came up with the impression that, you know, he would have liked to fulfill our wish of having MG&E convert, you know, all of MG&E streetlights in Middleton to LED. However, his hands were tied. That was clear. And so, you know, I think one point of frustration just in the committee was that, you know, some committee members felt like, well, they heard 8 years ago that MG&E was going to switch to LEDs in 6 to 8 years because they're not new technology. And now Jesse was telling us again, well, it's going to be 6 to 8 years. And so we just kind of felt like, well, that's what we heard before. And so it just felt like it's postponed. And so, you know, just, I guess, no, in summary, we are a very highly motivated community to get those switched out.
Okay, sounds great. I appreciate that background. And yeah, Jesse Shields.
Shields, thank you.
Shields, that's okay, no problem. So yeah, he was obviously on our team before he retired. So
Oh, he
which is why you
retired.
have me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why you have me now. You're stuck with me. So
That's great.
but yes, I appreciate that background, and then that'll help me as I do my legwork on my side. I do know replacing them is time consuming. I don't think it's necessarily funding that is the issue, because we obviously charge for the labor that we do. I think it's bandwidth and time, but I'll find out and bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. thank you.
can I just add on this, Christy, before we
Yep,
move this
yep.
topic? Just so Guy understands, we have community energy reduction goals, but even more strict and a tighter timetable, we have city government energy reduction goals, and city government would be part of the streetlight conversion. So this is one of the fruit that seems like, you know, changing bulbs out and getting the fixtures, whatever. This is stuff that I think we're I'm frustrated that we're hearing 6 to 8 years. Well, we have energy reduction goals that we're really trying to meet for city government. And this is one that I really won't want to see us fall flat on. And then the 6 to 8 year thing that Christy was mentioning was what we were told before. Just really feels like we're not embracing this as a top priority and getting MG&E, which you are really helping us on, see us realize real cost savings, but also getting it done so that we get the energy reduction credits that we're trying to do as a community.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And again, thank you for the background.
Thank you. Okay, Kermit.
Yeah, I totally agree with the point that Dick was raising, that, you know, it's, and you as well, that we're seeing this drag on and on and on, and the speed of engagement and action is not consistent with or proportionate to the urgency of the climate change crisis that is within sustainability's arenas of concern. And so, underscoring Dick's point, I think we really do want to do whatever we can to the old metaphor is light a fire under their rear, but I don't want to burn anything that's going to release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So some clean energy equivalent is what I'm really looking for. And the other point I guess I'd like to make, I mean, it is troubling that there is an appearance of a conflict of interest where it serves MG&E's interest to continue to charge, to collect more for more energy, and that reducing the amount of energy consumed is going to cut into MG&E's revenues. And yet that is what we need to do if we're going to reduce fossil fuel caused emissions. And
Sure.
I really think we need to, and I'm addressing this to the committee and to Kelly, that we need to figure out what we can do. And you as well, Guy. I mean, if you can kind of help shift gears on this process, that would be appreciated. But right now it
Absolutely.
doesn't, the optics are not good for MG&E being a good faith partner and moving along and addressing the climate crisis and the carbon emission objectives that we're trying to engage.
Like, I can certainly understand that viewpoint. It's not one that I haven't heard before. It's interesting. I tell people we're the only industry that goes out and actively promotes people to use less of our product. And that's what we do. MG&E, and I'm not going to go down too far of a rabbit trail here, but MG&E has spent millions upon millions of dollars to clean our fuel mix, and we are at 40% renewables into our fuel mix that you're already receiving. So as far as those goals, we definitely have those same goals, and we put millions of dollars towards it, and we continue to do so with looking for new solar projects and everything else. So hopefully that helps clear up the optics a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Dick, did you have another point on the staff report that was unrelated to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's number 8. I don't know if you could scroll up. The block power thing. Kelly, this seems like a newer thing, and I would like you to go through it a little bit and just summarize it in words. And then I guess this block power talks about individual homes and things within a area, I guess. And I want to get back to Guy again on the idea of finding ways to incentivize the microgrid work, say, of some of our business park. Because if you ride your bike or drive around out there, you see all these massive numbers of buildings of quite large size with a lot of rooftop area and lawn area around them. It feels like it's going to be a challenge to get everybody in the community to maximize their solar production potential. Certainly energy reduction options with heat pumps and other things are part of the mix too. But that production of energy could be really enhanced if we take advantage of all the clear sky, unobstructed rooftops on some of these buildings all over in the industrial park. So Kelly, can you go through the block power data mapping thing and then see how that might fit into some of these bigger issues I just described?
Sure. Block Power is a firm from Brooklyn, New York, and they work around the country with communities to help them understand their housing stock and prioritize energy efficiency projects in the city. They want energy efficiency and things like the Efficiency Navigator project, which you're familiar with, those types of projects to be scaled up to the neighborhood scale. They became known when they worked with Ithaca, New York, which established the first goals to be 100% renewable and completely decarbonized by a certain date that's earlier than a lot of other cities. And they work with Block Power to map their entire city and all the buildings to find out where in the city to prioritize things like heat pump technologies, energy efficiency. It helped identify which blocks of the city were older buildings, which blocks of the city were new buildings that probably have better energy systems already installed. And so they developed a mapping tool that uses their own proprietary AI type of information, but then they also pull data sets like census data and they layer that with the age of the building, and it's layered with heating and cooling bills in that area. The more granular the data you can get to put into the tool, the better data you'll get out of it. But they basically layer a lot of different data sets, and then you can use it as a easy to use tool to be able to evaluate which houses, which apartment buildings, which blocks, which neighborhoods should we prioritize based on for equity issues, like where's the highest energy burden in Middleton? If we can find that, and then we know that those buildings tend to be older buildings and they would have this type of systems in them, then you can run analysis very quickly because the data is already in this mapping tool to see what would it cost to decarbonize this entire city block or this neighborhood. What sort of strategies would you most likely use? What would that cost? How much energy would that save? And that kinds of information can be used in grant applications. And it can also help the city prioritize projects instead of just looking at a city and trying to decide where do we even start with community decarbonization. And then I listed below that some of the ways we can use this. And I won't go through the points that I've already prepared, but I'm hoping that it's useful when we begin to evaluate how to prioritize the TIF Affordable Housing Extension Closure Funds, which will happen in 2025, I believe. And that'll be a chunk of money that can be used specifically in affordable housing and specifically for either new construction or to preserve and improve existing affordable housing. And so the Energy Efficiency Navigator program we're working on fits well, that type of a model fits well into this money that will become available in Middleton. And I think having a tool like block maps will be a useful way to evaluate things on a block level. It can also be used individually for individual apartment buildings, but also for larger scale projects. There's increasingly a push nationally to do decarbonization at a larger scale more quickly in cities, that we can't piecemeal this and just go after one water heater there and one water heater there. Like, in order to meet our climate change goals as a country as well, we need to think bigger and do bigger projects. So I feel like this tool sets us up to be a part of that work.
Dean,
You're on mute,
you're on
Dean.
mute.
Kelly, is this federal money then? And what is the timeline on it? For how long will it last?
We'll have this mapping tool. We just have this mapping tool now.
Okay, so we
we've
own
already-
that part of it.
Yeah, we
Okay.
own that part of it. We own the mapping tool. It's complete and we can start using it now. I'm working on the final report to the PSC about the project, finishing invoicing, so we haven't used it yet, but we can use it now.
But the primary use of it will be to interact with federal agencies that you can get more money from, right?
Yeah, that's one use. Also
So-
internally to use it, if we wanted to work in a particular neighborhood that was highly energy burdened with high energy bills, we knew then we knew the buildings needed a lot of energy efficiency retrofits.
Mhm.
We could prove our case instead of saying, I think these buildings would be great just by looking at them. We actually can make the case, this is a big priority because they use this much energy per year. Everyone here is energy burdened. People are paying very high utility rates because they have inefficient systems in their housing, and make the case for that. So yes, it'd probably always include, the financing issues always sticky with all of these types of projects. But if it also would help support an energy efficiency navigator project, because one of the main issues we had when we first started the efficiency navigator was, okay, where do we work? How are we going to select, what parts of the city receive funds? You can't, you have to be very transparent and clear about how you're going to divvy out federal funds. So we had to come up with eligibility criteria and a case for why we chose the census tracts that we did to work in. And this tool provides even more granular data than what we had when we started that project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kermit. You're on mute, Kermit.
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, the block power data mapping sounds very exciting because looks like it's opening up the promise and potential for engaging with the broader community-wide energy goals that we've set as a committee and as a city on behalf of the overall city. So that I find very exciting. A couple questions. Will this data be kept current somehow? Is it like plugged in an ongoing maintainable way with feeder databases that provide usage and other data, or is it just going to be a snapshot that's going to get obsolete if we don't do anything?
I'm hoping it should stay current because of where it pulls data from. Census data is updated regularly. A lot of it comes from those types of those types of sites. It'll also, I think, update with new programs. Part of the tool will show you, it will pair what programs are available in your particular area based on what's available. So it should say, for this census tract, it's this type of housing in the census tract, this many units, this is the electricity cost, and these are the programs available here. Focus on energy, blah, 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 and MGE, if MGE has a certain program. So those things, I think, are part of their proprietary AI aspect of their tool, I think.
So I'm concerned I'm picking up there are some ambiguities perhaps in the understanding of the system. If we can confirm that it will be kept current, because once you move into it being kept current, that raises the question of, are they going to charge for maintenance, and is it a service or is it a package and a product? And I guess I'd like us to be sure we know what we're getting and we get what we need, which is ideally something that will stay current on an ongoing basis, because this problem and solution we're working on will be an ongoing one. So I guess that was under request to you, Kelly, to make sure you understand or nail down what they're really giving us, and we ideally get something that is going to remain current and usable. The last question is this going to be accessible or available to the public at large? Does it have a relatively user-friendly interface? What are the other use cases aside from just within the city targeting certain grants for programs like that?
It will be internal only. It won't be something that the community uses, and we'll use it for the bullet points I've outlined here.
And is that because limitations of the program as it's provided by Block Power, or is that just because it's so technically complicated that there's no end user friendly data that's accessible for lay public?
I mean, I suppose if the public wanted access to it, like right now we have a login that's, 3 of us have the logins to be able to use the tool. I suppose it's similar to our internal GIS in the city. It's not that there's any secret information. It all comes from public sourced data, but at what point does the public have access to every single internal system that staff uses? I mean, it just out of
Right.
Yeah.
just efficacy of using tools, I guess, internally.
Yeah, I raised it only because it seems like it potentially could help private sector and nonprofits maybe trying to engage and help move things along to be able to understand the problem and provide resources or encouragement.
They might need their own license for it.
And that's yeah, and that's what I'm asking,
Yep.
whether that's.
It's probably the case. Dick,
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this tool would allow you to do an analysis of the city and determine which homes are potential solar sites, just because it would be unobstructed rooftops facing a southerly exposure. But that gives an analysis right down to individual properties, which probably you don't want to have made public because that infringes on somebody's right for privacy. I'm assuming these are challenges, right?
Yeah. Like MGE can't give us individual energy bills of all the tenants because that's private information for individuals. But they can give, some level of data of what the average energy cost in this area is. And then Block Power does have methodologies to extrapolate out what that would mean more closely based on the age of the building and other aspects that they can find out about the building. So they can make it a little bit more building specific without having to ask each tenant for their energy bills, or without us knowing that.
How about, what if we as a city advertise that we have a tool that would help analyze individual homes to determine what their potential is for solar? And then if the homeowner contacted the city and said, I would like an analysis done on my property, is this a service that this tool and maybe others with data could provide to say, yes, you have a particular slope roof, and if you had so many solar panels, you could produce so much energy and it would offset some certain costs? I mean, is this something that if we promote it as a city, we'd have the capacity to do it, but we wouldn't do it for everybody, but only those that would contact the city that they would like an analysis, rather than having to go out on their own and hire a consultant? Could the city do a little bit coarser analysis to say it looks favorable, and then maybe then the homeowner could pursue it on their own?
I don't think we have the staff capacity to get into individual solar analyses, but there's other tools I think that individuals can use for a solar analysis. I forget what it's called. I bet someone on here on the call knows. You can find that information out pretty quickly yourself. Laura?
Yeah, you can, to kind of answer that, I just got solar panels. I'm making energy as we speak. Got them July 3rd.
well done.
Thank you.
I thought that was
And-
because you're on a treadmill creating energy.
Yes, that's right. I'm actually generating my own energy right now, walking on the treadmill. But anyway, it's called Energy Sage, and it's .org, and you can go right there. So I think just because staff time is limited, shall we say, that we could put something up to advertise that, because Energy Sage will help you. I mean, I did that, and I just gave my address and had like 6 solar estimates within, a day. And they would take a shot of my house, because you've got, Google everything in the sky that could find it, and they knew the slope and stuff, and there was no cost for that service. And then they just helped you find reputable people. So I like your idea of helping people out, maybe get stuff, get their house analyzed. They can get that done for free pretty much through Energy Sage. And that is something we could easily promote in maybe one of our mailers or flyers or on the website. And I can help you with that too.
Great. Thank you. That could be good for the utility flyer and the website. Wonderful. Okay. So, I think I just, in the interest of time, we're almost at an hour. I'd like to move on. If no one has any further questions about the staff report. Not seeing any, let's just move on. Laura, would you like to take the next item?
Okay, so I guess that's kind of a summary. Is that what you need? Yes. Okay. So you saw the, notes that Kelly submitted from our meetings. I've also been working on putting out surveys. I've done, as you know, you've completed 2 surveys. Thank you to everybody who has completed those. I got 2 more completed today. So there's a couple more people. If you haven't done it, if you can finish that would be great. I've heard back from the staff. I've heard from about, let me see how many, I have it there now. My surveys. Oh, yeah, there we go. I've heard back from about 10 staff on the staff survey, and that's one which was a index that will kind of help us know where we're at right now. So it's broken up into 3 sets. It was an index that was built by some researchers at Arizona State, and it's to help city staff or the cities get an idea of where you're at, and the higher the number is, the better you're doing, but it's a good starting point. So as soon as I get more of those, I will calculate our number and give a report on how the staff is kind of doing and just implementing the sustainability policy as is. Some other things that I've done was I searched other municipalities, particularly I looked at Madison, Boulder, Chattanooga, Santa Monica, and Portland. And in the chat, I've linked you to some easy guides that like Santa Monica did. And I've also linked to Portland. One of the requests that we get a lot from is, can you help us out? Can you give us some easy guides to help us with these purchases? And the city that does it the best is Santa Monica. They've been working on this for about 25 years. So they've got a lot of guides. So in the short term, we can easily just link and say, follow this until we build out our own stuff. In the long term, Portland does really well at kind of organizing their initiatives. They have a lot of pilots, especially for public works with cement, low carbon cement, and whether it's warm or cool. And so that's something that I think going forward could have a real big impact on, and something we're trying to work into the IP. I hear you, that is budget season. I did meet with Lisa Hanaro. I asked her, if I could see a little bit of the budget and know about the policy or know about the process. So I know we're in the middle of budget season, and I am meeting with Bill Burns tomorrow to look a little bit more at the actual procurement process, because essentially what's happening is we have a decentralized procurement process, and it's really difficult to track stuff like that. And the reports that go to the alders tracks, who made the purchase, from where, the vendor, how much, it was, but it doesn't necessarily say what it was. You're not at like the line item. But then I got something from Public Works, and the line item is like, okay, well, this was purchased at Amazon, and it's glue. So I mean, you're not capturing the environmental stuff separate, and you can't really track. Like I can't say, okay, tell me how much did we spend in fuel last year, gasoline. I don't see that I can do that without pulling receipts. So I'm going to talk to Bill Burns tomorrow to better understand what's going on in terms of our purchasing system. And the other thing that I kind of uploaded there was just the general table that I started putting together from a Santa Monica case study. I found a sustainable procurement playbook for cities, which was, done by, the city of Chicago. A lot of people are part of this network. And then the researchers at ASU for how to advance green purchasing in local governments. And they talk about things about, using an e-procurement system, but it's no good if it doesn't collect the environmental product data. And so basically what we need to do is, I think that Common Council, we need to decide, is this decentralizing purchasing the best way to go? Or we're losing out on some funds and some bulk purchase savings by not doing it centralized. But if we centralize, well, we don't have the staff, the financial staff to do that. So then you would have to hire at least a part-time procurement officer or somebody. And then what about storage, which I brought up earlier? So there's a lot kind of going on in there that needs to all come together. So my paper for my degree is due August 4th. So I'm in the process now of writing up my findings and my, implications. When I'm done with that, I want to write out all my recommendations. So for the August meeting, I'll have a list of, this is what I've found, this is, what I met, and these are my recommendations going forward. And then once we as a committee agree with what we want to, pass or recommend, then I would present that to the Common Council. And my hope is to do that as quickly as possible so that we do get it embedded in this budget cycle, so that going forward we can get started. And I do think, in kind of summary here, the staff is not as resistant. I got the essence that, they're not that resistant to it. They're willing to do it. They just need help. They need guidance, and the process can't be so cumbersome that it adds hours a day to their workload. We have to make it more simple than that. And everything that I've found is it has to be systemic. It has to come from the top, and it has to be integrated into the procurement system. It can't be tacked on afterwards. Otherwise, you don't get very big bang for your buck.
Thank
So-
you. Good summary. I think that's good.
Questions?
Yeah,
That's
any
good?
questions? Keep rolling, Laura. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Okay.
On behalf of all of us, for sure. Okay, Kermit.
Yeah, so to the concerns that were raised in public comments and others of us kind of who've been cheerleading this process on to get a sustainable purchasing plan and implementation. When are things going to be able to happen, or what do we need to do to make things happen? I mean, I'm hearing you say that in principle, staff is open or on board. But when can we do what, or how I mean, you also
We can
said
do
the
stuff.
paper is going to be done on August 4th, but that's,
Well, the staff can do stuff right now, and I think they are. I think they're doing the little, the easy, low-hanging fruit stuff. I saw, someone from the library who, they're no longer printing this out. They're using QR codes to save on paper. I also made a list of the things staff is already doing. The problem is a lot of that is the easy stuff, not the big stuff. Like, we need to get information into the bids, because that's your big carbon footprint stuff. And also it was mentioned, about, let's see here, looking for e-ambulances. Well, actually the police chief knew the price of, a new e-ambulance. And the problem was it was like 4 times the regular price. So now we're back to looking at grants, which gets back to the money, which is another part that I need to kind of talk to Common Council about. So I'm trying to look at the money and everything. So the links that I put there, you know, I make that available to city staff tomorrow and say, you know, follow Santa Monica's easy guides until we develop ours. You know, that can happen right now. I can say follow, we already have language in there in the IP that they can put into the quotes and bids right now. So really we're just cleaning it up and trying to be more systemic. So I kind of have 2 recommendations. One's, here's the big thing that we need to do to make it run over time for the long term. And here's some little stuff that we can do, you know, right now while we're developing that system. And so the timeline that I'm saying is, you know, I want to get this hopefully done by our next meeting and approved if we can, so that I can get it to Common Council so that they can approve it. And then we really, you know, on the ground running then. But there's nothing stopping staff now. In fact, the survey is like, what are you doing right now in terms of sustainable purchasing? And I will have those results. This is the 2nd week. I just sent out another hit to say, please fill out this. And I have to wait until I get all that data back to tell you how they're actually doing right now. But from a qualitative standpoint, it seemed to me that they were actually trying to make progress within their capacity.
I can confirm there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that Laura is doing, and it is all moving it forward. So, you know, I think it's going as fast as it possibly can right now.
Mhm. And anything in particular on the low embodied carbon?
Embodied carbon, that's mainly in your building materials and
Right.
your concrete. And that is, I've kind of created a whole category of its own for that. And that was the link that had to do with Portland. If you go there, they've got a lot of pilot studies that they've written. So if you got pushback from staff, you could say, well, here's their pilots. Let's, you know, run a pilot of our own. I know we're in a different climate. Let's check it out. So I'm kind of building the background to say, here's your sheets, here's your pilot studies, here's how you do it, and, you know, kind of go from there. And then after we get all the policy stuff through, just training matters, follow-up matters, you know, being there to help. And we'll see what it'll ultimately come down to how much do we want to invest in time and treasure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Okay. Thank you, Laura. Dean.
I also think, Laura, to reinforce the idea that at every step along this way, as we try to get people to do it more and more, the other thing that has to happen is they need to hear it from the top down, that it will pay off for them personally and system-wide if they act on it now with the tools we already have, as opposed to waiting for the complete perfect process, because we'll always be doing updates on this. So it's never, you know, it's always going to be growing and changing and getting better, hopefully. So anyway, we really need to remind folks that they can already encourage many of these activities without the perfect complete system. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move forward to the operating budget agenda item. which is just to show people where we are at right now. We have lots of budget opportunity for the rest of the year. Good Neighbor Fest, are you still on target for about 2,500, you think? Yep, I see you nodding.
Yes.
Deb. Yes, okay, so we still have room. I mean, it's the middle of summer and vacations and all that, but we still have room for, more ideas and budget spend. But I'm not worried about it at this point. I feel like we're farther ahead than we have been in previous years on just keeping up with the budget. So we'll just keep moving forward. Any comments, questions, feedback? Right now?
So basically, we've committed about $7,500 because Good Neighbor Fest, we're coming in pretty close to 25, right?
25, yeah,
Deb?
I think so.
yeah. So Laura?
The only thing I'd say, I'm a fan of these utility inserts. Like, it looks like it didn't cost as much as we thought. So if we had money left over, doing one in the fall, like you said, with the solar panels or heat pump information or something related, we might want to keep that on our radar.
I think definitely we had, unofficially planned on that for sure.
Another small thing, I know Deb and I, Christy, you were involved in this. We were talking about what to put on the banner, the tablecloth thing, and Deb had just taken something off our website about what our sustainability committee is about, or what our goals are. And I thought it was pretty amazing what she found. I thought, geez, we really need, maybe we should take a hard look at our website of what this is all about, because I don't look at it, and it's probably 10, 12 years old. And is this something that an intern could help us with, Kelly? We do have $2,500 left. I mean, could we get an intern this fall and help do this flyer that Laura's talking about, and maybe look at our website?
Yeah, that's possible. We had an intern who updated the website, I guess it was about 3 years ago now. And she did a great job for back then. And it's very wordy because I feel like it was during the pandemic or right after the pandemic. And there's a lot of explanation on there. I think it could be better. We also have Brent now who can help keep the website updated. I think it needs constant updating with, making sure our latest news is up there, that our latest grant wins are up there, what we're working on is up there. I also don't think it gets much traffic, and I don't think that it doesn't get much. I don't think it's not getting traffic because it's not a great website. I just don't think it's a place where a lot of people go for information. So I think maybe social media might be a better outlet for some of that communication and other ways of getting the word out there. But we definitely do need a website because we need a landing page that we can send people to if people want to read plans and, look at things.
Okay, Kermit? Oh,
Yeah,
Kermit.
that's something that we've talked about previously about how to upgrade the website. So I guess I think there's updating as far as keeping the information fresh and current, which is essential if you want people to feel like it's worth bothering to check. And also upgrading, and this is where it's probably, it seems like it's a bigger lift, but making the website more just current looking, more engageable, more vibrant, dynamic, I don't know. And it could be we're totally hamstrung or straitjacketed by the package that the city has. But I would raise that question again and want us to explore with Brent what can be done in that regard. To not just update the website in terms of content and currency, but upgrade it in terms of design and engagement and approachability.
Okay, Laura, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is it's actually not that easy or intuitive to find. Like when I,
Right.
I looked at the website for like another paper, but the whole city website, and you have to be looking for it specifically and hunting to find it. And I had to search with words. So it's not like you can get to the Middleton landing page and easily find sustainability. You have to want to go there. So if you want
Right.
more people to find it, to use it, they got to be able to find it.
Right.
And I agree with what Kermit said, that it just needs refreshed.
Right. And for that matter, that could get into discussing with Brent options for search engine optimization. How can we get this in front of the people that we want to get it into front of, primarily Middleton residents? And I think should be some ways we can do that.
Deb,
And we have some money as part of it. The reason it's coming under this budget discussion is like, okay, we have some money. If we can leverage some money with some Brent's expertise to upgrade, update, and optimize for searching, I think that would be worth it.
Okay. John. You're on mute, John.
I guess I'm just a little frustrated with the conversation because we're always said, as Kelly says, people aren't going to the website. There's not that much that's there that people interested. I don't think we're going to suddenly massively get a bunch of people to come to the website and all of a sudden be the big hot thing. As Kelly said, we have people now, a person with the city that does PR, and I think a better way rather than just throwing the money at the website is to really deal with the PR people better and say, what do you think is the best way to help us get something out there? Maybe it is a website, maybe it's social media, whatever. But I think we shouldn't just fixate on the website as if somehow we make it better, it's all gonna make us visible. So that's my 10 cents.
Thank you. Okay, let's keep this in mind, this discussion going forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next initiative, which is the high school. So Brad.
Oh wait, could we go back and I had a few things I wanted to talk about via the capital budget
yes.
discussion.
Yes.
The capital budget's separate from operating, and the operating budget the committee has is $10,000, but it's primarily used for events and items that the committee needs to do its job, and it's small dollars. But the real place where you can make movement happen on sustainability projects is the capital budget and the city's operating budget, which is very tight and restricted. And so I wanted to just quickly update you that already the due date for capital budget requests is August 16th of this year. It always comes around very quick. Everyone in the city, all the city staff is scrambling right now to get their budget items summarized and quoted out and put together to present to the city. And so what we do is we work by departments, and then we submit our budget requests through our department heads to Bill Burns, the finance director. And then there's a series of meetings that take place with finance where you basically make your case about the priorities from your department for funding. And it's helpful to have committee recommended priorities for your departments or your section, your sector, being sustainability. And so I'm going to share, I just made some quick notes about our budget. So I'm just going to share that really quick if I can. This is by no means anything super technical or exciting, but I wanted to just show this to give a high level overview about how much money we currently have out there for sustainability projects. And this is just through planning. There's a lot of, sustainability means a lot of things. So other departments, Public Works, Parks and Rec, they have their own allocations and budgets that they're working from for 2024 and projecting what they want to do in 2025 that also includes sustainability. So, but these are sort of the things that are on my plate as the sustainability coordinator, and grants I'm working on, ARPA projects from the American Recovery Plan Act funds from COVID relief from the federal government. And I've broken it out to show you that there's the capital budget in 2024, which includes the solar purchase at PD, which is still, we don't know if we're going to do that or not. We still have funds for the battery storage project, which is hopefully going to be completed this fiscal year, and then a pot of money for matching grant funds. And then under ARPA, there was some movement of our projects from capital into ARPA that was done in the last budget cycle. So the things that ARPA is funding now include the EV charging infrastructure, the streetlight, labor, and the match amount for our previous carbon reduction program grant. And then also, I don't know if people remember, but Common Council did allocate an additional $150,000 for this year to do more streetlight conversion. They just basically gave us the same amount that they gave us last year, and then we didn't get the project done last year because the legislature held up that grant. So it all got smushed into 1 year. And one thing that's sort of conflicting with that allocation is that I wrote a grant for $158,000 for streetlight conversion. So if we get that grant, which we'll know in September, we could free up that $150,000 of ARPA funds for another use. Maybe sustainability, but I can't promise it would go towards sustainability. And then our Efficiency Navigator project is a huge chunk of ARPA funds. And then the grants we're working on right now include the things you're familiar with hearing every meeting, the battery storage, Lakeview project, block power mapping, which was just complete, a Healthy Babies grant, and then the streetlight grant, which I'm working through. And then I'm also part of 3 different grants that are joint grants that we wrote together with various communities for the Energy Future grant, a statewide grant for greenhouse gas assessments. That was a PSC grant we received this year that'll help a lot of different communities, including Middleton, on GHG assessments. There's also a grant which is working in Wisconsin to look at energy codes and help municipalities form a roadmap to help meet higher standards of energy codes and find workarounds to that in our state. So these are all meetings and networks that I'm involved in on a monthly, sometimes bi-monthly basis. And then I just applied for the new round of streetlight grants. So it's a lot of projects, and there's no one else to hand any of this work off to. It's not like, Public Works is doing all of these projects. It's just one person. So I'm really sort of reticent to, I don't know if I want to ask for individual project money specifically for next year for capital. But what I am doing, I'm meeting with Jim Scholander in inspection because he's working on budget items that include LED lighting replacements and rewiring in our buildings. They're working on facilities planning. And he's very aware of the purchasing policy. And we were talking about it today. He's preparing quotes for heat pumps, replacements in different buildings. So all of this is, I think, becoming more cross-departmental, which is really exciting. Next year, the golf course, I believe, and the solar wells, solar on utility wells will be part of a budget request. And that'll be other departments handling those projects, which are very much sustainability, which I'm excited about. The one item that I would love to bring to this committee next month would be, if we do any budget item, I would love to find funding for another year of the Efficiency Navigator program at some level as sort of a bridge year between the ARPA funding and the TIF closure money that can be used in affordable housing. We're going to have 1 year where there's no funding, and it's a particularly important time, I think, to be doing this work because we're also engaged in that Energy Future grant, which is working to scale up the Efficiency Navigator program. So it's a really good time to be engaged in this work, I think. Fitchburg just signed a contract to do the Energy Efficiency Navigator work with TIF funding. Eau Claire is using capital funds. Madison's using capital funds to continue that work. So that would be the one item that I would request for next year, and then just work on supporting the other departments on their sustainability requests. But what I want to do is prepare that spreadsheet, have it ready, have the narrative filled out, and then bring it to this committee in August. That would be, I think, August 19th is our next meeting, the third Monday of August. And that's like a day after the requests are due, but it's probably before the meeting that we have with Finance and Common Council. So I can still, I think, get a recommendation from this committee for that item or others. But I wanted this to be top of your mind going into next month for a robust discussion and then action to recommend budget for, I can prioritize a short list of potential budget requests and we can talk it through next month. But I just wanted to bring that up now. And then also just these little notes that I'm showing right now on the screen, which really is a testament to how supportive Common Council is and how successful we've been at partnering on grants and getting grants, and then also allocating our ARPA funds towards sustainability projects. So I wanted you all to see that. It's about $2.1 million right now that we're working with for sustainability. And that wouldn't be such a big deal if it was a road project, because that can be one project that's a road, but this is like 13 or 15 separate projects, and each of those projects has multiple meetings, contracts, grant reports, project management. So it's a lot of moving details. And so if things seem like they're moving slowly, sometimes projects get held up by bureaucracy and by the grant requirements themselves, but we are moving forward and we have a lot on our plate and we're just trying to keep the balls in the air, so to speak. So that's my spiel on the budget, and I can send this out to the committee and I'll also put it in next month's packet, and I'll make sure everything's correct and easy to understand.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's go Dean and then Kermit.
Yes. First of all, Kelly, it's always spectacular to see all the things you're working on. And I'm just thinking in several different ways here as I looked at this. One is, do any of the grants you apply for actually fund personnel or have any indirect funds attached to them that could be used to fund it? Or have you talked to council or city leadership about the full amounts that you're bringing in and whether you could have some sort of support people helping with this? Because I can see how, having had lots of grants over the years, having 5 little ones, is much, as you noted, was much more work than having one big one. But somewhere we should be looking for ways to get you some help. Secondly, I was thinking you should get some credit for these projects that are now going on in other departments. Because I'm pretty sure that the committee and you have stimulated a lot of this to happen. There should be some way to recognize collaborative work in these areas. And then the third thing, you say grant funds, and it'll say battery storage, for example, hope to complete in 2024. Does that mean the work is done or the money's gone or both?
I hope both. I want to get that project done.
But there's lots of that. That's the critical question is, if you do have some carryover, can you carry it over into any kind of fund that you can use? So sometimes you get the project done and there's $15,000 left, maybe, depending how you budget.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any money left on
Yeah.
any of these things. If anything,
Okay.
the battery storage project, we've just gotten word that in order to put the battery where we truly want to put it for safety reasons, for preference by the PD, it would cost additionally, I don't know, $70,000, which just kills me because we've already asked for $200,000 from capital, which we have gotten, and it's been carried over at least 1 year because we couldn't expend it last year. So in this, I'm going to have to sit down with Bill Burns and have him work some magic, because there are places in what I've listed here. There are pots of money, like the streetlight conversion of $150,000.
Yeah.
That we may not need because we may get the grant to cover a good chunk of that. And also the solar purchase at the PD. If we find out that that really isn't a good deal, then that would free up that money that potentially we could just put into the battery storage fund. You know, council would have to approve this. They could always take that money and do something else with it. And
Right.
so it's not that a sure thing, but I'm just saying, you don't want to get complicated in a city budget. Well, you know, I'll take 5,000 from here and 10,000 from there. You can't really do that with city budgets.
Right.
But I feel like with sustainability projects, all of this stuff is so new. It's always a combo of grants and capital. And then these projects take a lot longer. It's not just like ordering a mower. It's like figuring out systems that no one's figured
Right.
out before. And they take sometimes 2-3 years. And so it causes carryovers and it causes grant extensions to be needed. And so right now I'm just mired in like managing all of that.
Right.
I need a lot of spreadsheets, I guess. But anyway, so
Well,
that's the long answer.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on creating that problem, because it's a sign of how much good work you're doing. And on the flip side is my condolences on doing such good work that you have that problem. But you know, if that might be the way to present it to the council and to finance, is that you do need some mechanism for these very creative and new types of projects to create some funding flexibility. You know, and if you could work that out with finance and then report to council once in a while about it, you could probably at least know that you can keep going instead of you're going to get cut off on any of these things. So anyway, my 2 cents, but congratulations.
Yeah, well, the ARPA funds do run out in 2024, so everything must be contracted. It doesn't necessarily have to be spent, but it has to be
Yes.
under contract by end of December. So everyone is scrambling there, and you know, everyone's probably a bit concerned about their outstanding ARPA projects because things take a lot longer than you think. So we're
Yep.
scrambling to get everything under contract by the end of the year. And actually the Efficiency Navigator project is the least of my concern because they've already mapped out what work they need to do, and they have way more work than we have funds. So it's not going to be something where we can't expend that money. We have it all answered for and some. So I feel like we could make a good case for maybe an additional budget request there, or tooling of the funds from other areas for that.
Yeah, like from the possible dual funding in the streetlight project
Yeah.
could, yeah. But boy, wouldn't it be great if you could have that conversation more quickly and on, as things pop up, as opposed to as part of the entire budget. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I wish there was more flexibility but I also understand it all has to go through public process and that every single department needs
Yep.
lots of money.
Okay, let's go to Kermit. And Kermit, if you don't mind keeping it a little bit quick, just because it's 8:06 here and we have
Yep.
several work initiatives. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So one, echo Dean's expressions of appreciation and gratitude for your impact. Two, how can we help you, or how can we get help for you, or how can we get help you get help for all this stuff you're doing? Because it's been a recurrent challenge, and it's like it isn't fair to you, and yet we want these great things to happen. So what is there anything we can do? Is there anything we can help you do? Is there anything? Main question.
Yes, I think advocating for more staff would be the most helpful, whether that's through the upcoming a potential referendum. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a sustainability staff. It could be, I think, like Public Works is helping me so much right now on the streetlight project and on the charging infrastructure project, pushing that along. And so those kinds of projects are best housed in the engineering department. They can review those plans and quickly respond to the consultants about what needs to happen rather than me always being the go-between. I mean, I like to be involved, but I almost wish that Public Works could get additional staff. And I don't know if that would be an extra engineering tech who specializes in sustainability projects and then other things as well. Or if it would be a grant administrator who could do all the reporting and like the logistics of some of that. I don't know. Abby Attoon, my supervisor, is also, thinking of this. I just don't want to get into the position where something falls through the cracks because there's just too many projects to keep all the details in front of me when it would actually be better housed by, engineering staff.
Right.
Just
Right.
because they have the skill set that exceeds mine in that sense. Like I think we could be more efficient as a city, but I also know, I will always say that I know how busy Public Works is, and they are incredibly busy with just the regular planning reviews that they have to do. And I mean, there's no one sitting around down there. They're so busy. So there's no more room. There's no more time in their department either.
That almost sounds like that, at least because we are particularly concerned about that issue, warrants making that an agenda item to discuss how can we support and leverage or mobilize resources to get things to happen. If that makes sense, then please put it on the list. I know it's more time than I think we have tonight to kind of get through to some specific action items, but I think you point to some actions, but how we best move that forward is going to take some more discussion, I think.
Okay, so
And I will just briefly say, I think you are hitting the nail on the head as far as we don't just want to do the sustainability projects. We want all city projects to be done sustainably. And so getting that offloaded so that Public Works is just doing that by default is really what we're needing to encourage. And if that takes another staffer there, then I think that is what Sustainability Committee maybe needs to somehow help make happen.
or a grant administrator or whatever, yeah.
Or as the case may be, right?
Yeah. Okay, would you add that to the next month's agenda, Kelly? Please, thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Brad. Oh, Deb, please, go ahead.
Just real quickly, I don't know. I think that item is bigger than what the committee can talk about in a reasonable amount of time. It might be a subcommittee that comes up with some recommendations.
I think we might need that agenda time to organize the subcommittee and give them a scope of work then.
Anybody else have thoughts on that? How about if we first get it on the agenda for next month
Right.
and go from there? And then, I mean, subcommittee is a good idea too. Other people chime in. Laura?
Yeah, I think we should talk about it a little bit as a committee before we break down, just because in the research I was doing, I looked at the organizational chart and I have some questions and some opinions that are just my own that I'd like to discuss, before I make any recommendations. It's too big for tonight, but maybe just get an overview and then go to a subcommittee for recommendations on that.
Okay. Maybe you could show the org chart and your thoughts with your, as a visual.
Yeah.
That's okay,
Yeah,
great.
I can pull up. Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you. All okay if I move forward now to Brad?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Brad, so at most of the meetings, we try to give the Middleton High School Green Team the floor. If you wouldn't mind giving us an update on what's going on, with the green team, what are you guys working on, what's happening, what are you excited about, what are challenges, things like that. Just and that just helps us understand ways that we can support you and the high school team, as we see fit. So, do you want to just give us a summary about what's going on right now?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Obviously, school ended in June, so as a green team, we don't still meet. Some of us are still doing our own projects. I know a couple of us are trying to volunteer for like Governor Nelson, join the Friends group there, and getting involved in that way, and in other other competitions. And we're trying to move the green team in a position where it's not just focused around the high school. It's focused around all the schools and out in the broader community as well, relating to things like Pheasant Branch, state parks in the area, et cetera, Lake Mendota, problems that go along with that. But we did finish several projects at the end of the year. They had plastic utensils in the lunchroom, and we're going to get metal utensils next year, which is a huge problem that we've been working on for years. That finally is going to get done. And then we collected a bunch of plastic film, like plastic bags, things like that, to recycle. And this is called the Trex competition. So we sent that to the competition successfully. Working with composting, we got that started. We've had limited success, but we're working on getting recycling. We're starting with just plastic bottles. So we had a dump station so they could clean it out, and then the bin where they could throw them in. We had some success. We had to put it in a relative, there wasn't a lot of traffic through the area because throughout the entire high school, it was too risky with problems we've had in the past with people not dumping out, contamination in the recycling. Because currently, aside from these plastic bottles that we only had a few. There's no recycling at Middleton High School. There's recycling bins, but because of contamination, they all just go right into the trash, which is something we're trying to work on, but it's so complicated, mostly because of negligence. People just they'll throw whatever, they won't dump their milk cartons, etc. That's problems they've had in the past, and those are things we're trying. Actually, I would open it up if anyone had any suggestions. We would love to hear. We've worked on, I guess advertising campaigns, you could say, appropriate signage, etc., etc. It feels like we've tried everything, but if anyone has any ideas.
Oh gosh.
Otherwise, obviously, we have a little bit.
Deb is the former high school teacher, former science teacher. She's got good ideas.
Yeah, and I was the district sustainability coordinator for a few years too, and tried to tackle the same problem. And I think you need supervision, with somebody there saying, oh, goes in this bin, not this bin. I mean, there has to be, because all of the signage, we had the AV people come up with videos on how to do it. And I mean, I tried all sorts of things. And then I tried to get clubs involved to, take lunch periods and try to be supervisors. And I tried to get the supervisors that are there to take some time when people are bringing back recyclables versus trash and kind of help organize that. And I failed. I failed, as you just said, that they're not really recycling. So I really think you need some supervision.
I agree. Other thing we were working on is just trying to get rid of it in the first place. Obviously, like with the plastic utensils, I also feel like we have unnecessary, especially in the lunchroom, we have unnecessary things. I mean, even the bottles, I guess. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, you know why the metal went away in the first place? It's because students were throwing them in the trash.
Yeah, they were. And we did the calculations. I'll try to keep it brief, but we did the calculations and we used the empirics from the elementary schools, which do have metal utensils. And we did find it was still a profit in the long run. Obviously, they would have to, it is a problem, but they're going to give it a try and hope that it works, and I really do hope, and I am confident that it will, but
well, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Good work. Yeah, keep up the good work. Kermit. Kermit, you're on mute.
Thank you again. Brad, yeah, you expressed interest in kind of pushing beyond the boundaries of just the school. And to some extent, recycling is one of those issues. The plastics industry kind of pushed the problem of single-use plastics into society and ended up causing society and individuals to take the blame and responsibility for fixing it. So like when you start to say, we're trying to get rid of the plastics, especially single-use plastics, that's probably the high leverage, high gain strategy. Because if you're trying to get individuals to individually just modify their micro behavior, we heard from Deb, we heard from you.
Yeah.
It's been a losing battle. It's like the system needs to be changed, and the amount of plastic in our systems and in our society needs to change. And that makes the problem even more challenging, but there are things you can do to push on the policy, to lobby, to make changes like you did with this going to metal. I mean, that's genius. So
I completely agree. I think going into the new school year, we'll definitely try to push for initiatives of that nature. So
Yeah. Okay, good. If you don't mind, if you have more, Brad, let's hear it. Otherwise, I may move this along. Okay. Because, well, actually, I have a feeling Deb and Dick are going to attempt to tie you in to the Good Neighbor Fest parade. So go for it, Deb and.
I already did.
Okay, good. Okay.
And I was looking for more help to be walking in the parade and distributing bags, etc. So Brad was able to get me a high school student to help. A neighbor of mine has her family of 4 plus 2 more friends. So there's 6 there. There's 4 of us, and there's 3 green team members from Cromery Middle School. So we have 15 right now. Dick and I pounded up a minimum of 12 is what we needed to make this a go. And so we have 15 now. And I've gotten the last 2 middle school kids just in the last day or so. So I think another request went out from the school for the green team to come up and, help us. So anyway, we have enough to do that. I've ordered all the bags. We ordered 1,000 bags, and we ordered T-shirts because everybody should look like Sustainable Middleton people. So everybody's got a t-shirt coming. I had to order a minimum of 12. So we will have some extras for new people on the committee. Brad, you should get a t-shirt. So just let me know what size you need. Dick, what else do you want to say? That we don't have a lot of time tonight.
I think you've covered it, and you've done all the work in the last few weeks, getting stuff ordered and the t-shirts and doing the queries for more help. So I think Deb has really taken the lion's share of the work on this the last month. So way to go, Deb.
Good
you.
work, Deb. Thank you. Do you want to transition into Sustainable You, Deb?
Okay, the only updates on Sustainable You is we had 4 businesses plus me, so 5 actually signed up to come hear Kathy Kuntz talk about the Inflation Reduction Act for businesses, what kinds of things they can get. So we rescheduled it, and it's going to be September 10th at 9:30 in the morning. Lisa Hanaro said you should have it as a Zoom. More businesses would be able to just watch it from their desk and not have to go to the library after work. So we're going to try it at 9:30 in the morning on a Zoom, the 10th of September. And then the 15th of August, Kathy Kuntz is going to talk about at 6 o'clock at the library, face-to-face, homeowners and the benefits from the IRA for that. So that's the update on Sustainable You.
Thank you. Okay. Fall utility flyer insert. We don't have Lynn here. I think we could, Kelly, we have another month on that one, right? I mean, we don't need to get in the content ASAP, right?
No, I do know that the deadline is September 16th. When we
Okay.
have to have the copy finished, so we don't have a lot of time, but I also talked to the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District, and they're willing to put something together for the blending valve
Okay.
initiative, and they might be able to also do something about salt in general,
Okay.
like because it's
Yep.
going into the winter, it'd be a good time to hit the salt issue.
Wonderful. Okay.
And that ties in with the water as well.
Okay.
At our meeting tonight, the Friends of Pheasant Branch, we were talking about this referendum coming up for stormwater management. And it was suggested maybe the city would want to put something in as a flyer to give information about the referendum if this is coming out before the election. So
Okay.
you might want to check and just see if anybody's thought about doing that.
A good
Okay.
idea.
I just want to comment quickly on the salt thing. It feels like that I don't know that MG&E has a good inventory of what kinds of water softeners are out in the community. And I bet there's a lot of older units that are wasting salt. And if we're going to do something as an insert about salt, it would be nice to maybe encourage somehow on this flyer that people have some website or something that they could just click on with a link and then just say what kind of softener they have and any other pertinent information. And if you could get MMSD to take the lead on preparing that material, but more than just the blending valves, I really feel like if they could figure out how many old water softeners are out there, maybe it would be more efficient with some little bit of money incentive to have a rebate to help get people to change.
Yeah, agree. Okay. All right. I think, does anybody have any other, it's 8:24, anybody have any other work initiatives?
So
No?
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify the fall utility flyer insert. We have some ideas that have been floated. Whose action item is that to follow up on and have something maybe for approval by next meeting, or are we going to?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I think last time we did Deb, Lynn, and I, right, and Kelly. So we could just continue on that. I can follow up with the three of you on that.
Okay, sounds good. As long as
Okay.
somebody's owning it.
Yeah, okay, all right, so let's end 5 minutes, 5 whole minutes early tonight, if we can, and, oh, Dick, go for it.
Yeah,
Something-
I don't want to see us put it on the August agenda, but I'd really like to see us develop a more comprehensive analysis of the whole microgrid thing and where we're at with it and what are the roadblocks, and see it really get analyzed this fall. Of course, MG&E is a big part of this, to get them, with Guy here, coming to our meetings. It would be nice to really have an in-depth discussion of how are we going to promote more business communities, to our businesses to, be part of a microgrid and producing their own energy, etc.
Great point. Okay, thank you. We are really close to 8:30. We've had a very productive discussion. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn. I move.
Okay, so I think Laura seconded, Deb third. We probably
Well,
have.
Laura was first. I heard
Okay.
Laura first.
Okay, Laura, we have third, fourth, fifth, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Bye.
I-
Thanks.